So let's have a look before we go any further. You'll have to excuse the heater making all the noise. Once we get all that festoon of piping out of the way, it's starting to look like a mid-size V6. That's the intercooler. That's the outlet to cooled air. That's the inlet from the turbos, the hot air. It gets cooled and then comes out that side to go into the intake. This is the festoon of piping I was talking about. This is all intake air, every bit of it. That's all that is. All that mess. And this is the coolant pipe. Getting ready to remove it. It deals with a lot of the hoses, so it kind of gets them all out of the way at one time. This is a weird block heater setup. This engine came from up north. Let's see. So here's our water pump, and it pumps coolant through the block and the heads, and it crosses over in the back there. This is the crossover at the rear from cylinder head to cylinder head to get antifreeze out, and then hot antifreeze is going to come into our heater hose, which is here, goes to the firewall. And we're going to make our way through this pipe and up to this bulkhead here. The thermostat's here. If the thermostat's shut, then the antifreeze can't go anywhere, so it's just kind of blocked off in the radiator. So it'll just recirculate and go back in to the water pump, be drawn back in to do it all over again. And this is the return heater hose. It goes back on the firewall, and it goes back into this assembly to be pulled in, and then this goes up to our degas bottle. Alright, so when the thermostat opens, then instead of recirculating, it'll actually flow through the radiator, and it'll go through this hose, back through this hose, and it'll pull antifreeze from the degas bottle, and we'll circulate air that's been cooled by the we'll circulate antifreeze that's been cooled by the radiator. So once this assembly's out of the way here, we're pretty much done with the cooling system. I mean, there's nothing left. There's a few little tubes that go to the turbos. These turbos cool themselves through the principle of convection, so they run antifreeze into them. That way, when typical customer, the general rule of thumb is, if you got a turbocharged engine and you run it really, really hard, you want to let it idle for 5 minutes so everything can cool down. You don't shut the engine down and the turbos just the turbos still turn. You turn the engine off, they'll turn for anywhere from a couple seconds to 10 to 15 seconds. If you shut it down and you're a high idle, I mean, they can run for 30 seconds, and there's no oil flow into the turbo at that time. Well, the typical manufacturer knows that the average customer is not going to let their vehicle idle for 5 minutes. So they ran antifreeze into them, and you can shut the vehicle off, and through the principle of convection, the antifreeze will still circulate through the hot turbo until it and the engine temperature stabilize. So if the turbo is running 600 degrees and the engine's running 200 degrees, when you shut it off, then until that turbo comes down to the engine temperature, they may end up equalizing at 250 degrees. Antifreeze will flow the entire time. It will never stop flowing. It will flow the whole time. Even though the engine's off, the water pump's not turning. So all we got left to take off to get this monstrosity off here is the oil cooler fittings and hoses, and then we can take this piece off. So I don't have the correct puller for this idiotic balancer, so I gotta make do. It's beyond foolish for a manufacturer to go to this style pulley when they have one that worked forever that you could just pull right off. I don't know if this is a way to sell tools or what their plan is. Beyond frustrating. But you will can bet I'll have the tool the next time. Get myself in this predicament twice. Just nowhere to grab this thing. So I had to rig it up this, which is not designed to do what I was just doing. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah. Silicone. Silicone and O-rings and come by that. So close. Like a boomerang. Looking better. Yeah. Every time I do that, that happens. So on the front rear drive, that's an idler, but on the front drive, that's the actual water pump.
That's the water pump, yeah.
So this is just a...
Yeah, the first one I did was one of these. Oh, it's because it's got so much slack. Wow. Stretch the crap out of it.
They say, you know, that Ford always says, or a lot of people say, they say, don't ever turn the motor backwards.
Mm-hmm.
This is one they're talking about. You turn that something backwards or something like that, it'll jump time. Every time. You can almost slide that chain off of that gear. Just a little slack in her.